Morning. Going live from Trichome Studio here and starting with a new presentation, a new lineup for the morning buzz here. We're going to be going live freeway side. We got the 91, that direction is going west, that direction is going east, but the 91 freeway here in Corona, California. Looking to start a little bit new of a new segment here in regards to the morning buzz. We're going to be going live with a little bit later breaking news here in the morning so that people can come over and start to catch on to things around the morning opening bell and do that kind of stuff. The cannabis markets are heating up. And essentially, late breaking news is what is determining what's going up and down. So while this is not investment advice, this is the morning buzz. We're going to go ahead and get to our three stories, and the format change is going to be that I'm going to go ahead and go through the three stories, and um, and then go ahead and answer some questions. Right at the moment, I am, let's see, looking for the chat. There we go. Um, and go ahead and hit me up in the comments after we get through the first three here. But this morning we've got DC lawmakers that have basically vetoed a bill in downtown Washington D.C. to sell cannabis. Illicit cannabis is going to prevail. They've actually blocked dispensaries in Washington D.C. and they're going after the gifting parlors there. So really, people who are taking advantage of the laws in DC as far as distributing cannabis and the gifting laws and that kind of thing, DC is really trying to crack down on that. Why that is important is because DC is where our federal government lay. That it really has a lot to do with the fact that um, you're seeing what people are feeling around and about Washington D.C. And right now, the sentiment still lies with the fact that they don't want cannabis there. Um, it plays part and partial to the fact that the MORE Act just passed, right? And when it comes down to why it passed the second time, and why it might not pass this next part the second time, the Senate the second time, is because last week 75 of the same GOP leaders stood against it. There was 75 GOP leaders that voted nay against it, and really that's what stands in front of it. It goes to show not only is Washington D.C. still still sitting firm in its boots. It's got the GOP lawmakers and the GOP leaders still sitting firm in their stance for their parties, and this is where we really meet. We really meet um, the resistance, right? Is with the old antiquated uh, terms and terminology and the way people uh, regard cannabis on one side of the aisle or the other. And so, moving on to the next one is a research bill just passed on Monday. And I'm going to go ahead and read uh, from Marijuana Moment here. And the House passes a bipartisan marijuana research bill that scientists study dispensary products days after the Moore vote. Um, Basically, uh, what you're having here is research trying to get out in front of the laws. I think we talked about it last Friday on the weekly roll up. In order to have a complete legalization, basically, they're going to have to do more research. And this research bill allows DEA and other supporting agencies to go ahead and get out in front of um, the research by going and obtaining cannabis from other dispensaries and doing that kind of stuff. And really, it's been what's been needed for quite some time. At the base of the study surrounding cannabis, we've been limited to the cannabis coming out of cannabis coming out of Old Miss, which had a 3% or less type of THC rating, and they're just finding that out now. So really, now you're getting to apples and apples, and ultimately, um, it's going to lead to the betterment of this passing. Now, the thing is that the medical research surrounding this is going to meet some resistance by the big pharma, and other big agencies that basically don't want to see this come to light. And just like Wicked Smart said, I'm not going to go to comments quite yet, but it's a joke, right? More research in light of the 30 years of medical states, but they haven't been doing it, federally, scientifically. It hasn't been allowed, and it's not on the books, and it's not on the dockets. And that's why this is important, is really the federal passing of a law that allows for the scientific research to be documented and now used in a way that could be good for the general public is basically what we're at right now. And it's a big step. Without the research bill, the MORE Act and the other ones don't pass as easily. And really, what we want there, is for the structure to get there. We've referred to it a couple different times on this channel. We don't want the horses to get rolled over by the cart, and that's what's been happening with the way these bills have been passing and that kind of stuff. The way states have been enacting it, and the medical prefacing the recreational sales and that kind of stuff. It's really been happening in this fashion the whole time, just to get it over the finish line. And now, with the federal stance on it being, you know, I guess more enlightened than ever before, with more momentum behind it ever before, it seems pretty darn important to get these steps right when you're talking about the cart before the horse, when you're talking about the medical provisions, the public safety provisions, and all that kind of stuff happening before legalization happens. And as part of, being part of the process for the last 10 or 11 years, essentially none of this stuff is moving fast. But it's for public safety. It seems to be what the government is deeming necessary, even though everyone in the comments, everyone watching, myself, we know that it's a little less dangerous than everybody's been talking about the last little bit. So the last thing is, Bernie Sanders out in the news again. He's got a clip we'll be posting to the channel here shortly, both on YouTube and then our other distribution outlets. But basically, he's calling for the decriminalization of marijuana. And when it boils down to it, Bernie's been on the side of this for quite some time, but now he's getting out. It's on his one YouTube channel. You can see the video, but again, we'll post a clip here, and I'm learning this whole new live thing, so we'll figure out how to play the clips here shortly as well. But really, what Bernie is doing is getting out and using his spotlight to really announce the atrocities and really um, basically help everybody with a voice on that. Bernie's been on the right side of this for a while, but the more politicians we have without a stake in a bill or a re-election campaign or that kind of thing, speaking out against the prohibition of marijuana and basically against the stance of the federal government right now, the better at this moment. The more people without a hat in the ring that are sitting there and aren't up for re-election and don't have bills there supporting it really will help the cause. So that's about it for the headlines today. I'm going to get a little bit more organized and go ahead and make sure that um, we read the news to you like you guys are used to hearing on the Morning Buzz. But the next part of this format is I'd like to open us up to 2 or 3 questions I'll take from the comments, see if I can answer them with, again, everything's in my opinion, and please don't utilize any of this for investment advice. We're not going to be talking about that whatsoever. It's just one of those things as to where the market right now in the state that it is, whether it's California here with the overtaxation, Chicago just coming off of 2 of the worst months it's seen since legalization in Chicago. The markets are going through adjustments and rebounding and that kind of stuff. A lot of the Canadian stocks, they're hoping and waiting on the U.S. to legalize things and then to be able to come in and purchase stuff right off the bat. So with that, I'll go right into Mason Tate. Is bud federally legal today? It is not, and it probably won't be for a while. And that has to do with where we are in these laws and that kind of stuff. So again, first of all, we need to get these research bills passed. We need to have something like the More Act passed so that it's decriminalized, and then we get to the federal legalization part. Um, so yeah, high hopes definitely. And hey, Wicked Smart, thank you very much. We're going to try to keep it simple and unbiased in the news still, and make sure that you guys have the headlines from around the areas you want. Right now, the federal government is making some moves, and you've got the reelection stuff, so that's out there in a big way at the moment. But states are making moves left and right, so we'll be making sure to go ahead and answer questions about states and include those big steps for the states in our news as well on a daily basis, just so that we're not updating you redundantly with different moves from different states. Um, I feel you on that one, Crypto Roger. If it weren't for cannabis, I would have rebooted long ago as well. Um, Looking smart, probably 2025, 2026 before they move forward. Thoughts on the Republicans bill moving forward? Um, you know, really at this juncture, I see 2025, 2026 being about as early as it's going to be. It would be nice to see descheduling and the research bills happen in between as well. Ultimately, the Republicans bill, um, it's going to be a lot of resistance from the other side, right? The Democrats and what Schumer has going on, they think a lot of it. They think that um, they've got the means there, and all of a sudden it's become a partisan issue as to where the Republicans have their own bill and they're going to be promoting it. So I believe, one of the headlines this week was about Schumer reaching out to Republicans to see what they wanted involved in the bill, right? Of which, to me, says, hey, our bill's better. What do you think about getting on board with it? And so the title is Schumer talking to GOP to see what they want in marijuana legalization bill coming this month. So when pressed during a briefing with reporters about the fact that he's been discussing plans to file legalization for more than a year, uh, new comments come from um, Schumer right now. We hope to file a bill towards the end of April, Schumer said, adding that Senate Finance Committee Ron Wyden Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden and Senator Cory Booker are talking about it. And in fact, we're trying to reach out to other lawmakers on the forthcoming bill. I've already reached out to a few Republicans, is what he said. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, I think that Wicked Smart, in regards to what your question was, is that basically Schumer is trying to utilize his position with the Senate as the Senate Majority Leader and get this bill across. Um, yeah, you said Republicans leave it up to the states versus something like the More Act would make it legal nationally. I believe, and I'm going to go ahead and look into it, but the More Act, um, it decriminalizes nationally and it allows for a state's opt-in. I do believe, just like what you're saying the Republican bill is. What I can do here is make sure that I get a bullet point for tomorrow. What I'll do is have a bullet point. Um, you know what? Maybe not for tomorrow because this is the morning buzz. But on this week's weekly roll up, we're going to have Steve Hawkins on from the USCC as well. And I know this is something that we're going to be covering there in depth. So with that, what we'll do is we'll have a pro con, or maybe not even a pro con list, a bullet point list of each of the the legalization bills, More Act versus the Republican bill. Why am I forgetting the name of it? Uh, but I'll go ahead and make sure that we cover that this Friday a little bit more in depth with people who know a bit more than I do about it and are on the front lines of it. I've been doing this for a while locally here in Riverside County and done a lot of stuff on the local level. But when it comes down to federal policies and and traditional markets and all that kind of stuff, there's definitely people who know more than I do surrounding this. So we're going to turn to them, and we're going to get the right answers, or the best answers we can from people who know the most. Um, so, AKA Cajun Indian, you know, being honest about it not happening. Again, it's tough to see full legalization happening without these other steps going into place here, as far as the MORE Act, or a research bill, or the safe banking, and those have become such partisan issues that getting through those first three hurdles is going to be, uh, well, a tough race, and figuring out how you appease both sides, because as simple as this is right now, and with the way public opinion in the U.S. is waning, not waning, excuse me, is growing for cannabis in general, medical, and all that kind of stuff. It should be a no-brainer. We should be past all this medical, no, excuse me, this marijuana madness stuff. But we're not, and realistically, that's the fight that we're fighting. And crypto Roger, so tired of feeling like a criminal for medicating myself. That's what this channel is about. It's about correcting the narrative. It's about getting people on the same page and understanding that go forward, we don't have to feel like that anymore. I identify with you on so many different levels. This has been my life. It's been something that has evened my keel, from a high school level on. I realized that it was something, later in life, that was helping me in quite a few fashions. It's something that, rather than pain pills, of which I have an addictive personality, I like to turn to in moments of pain and suffering on different levels. So I understand what you mean so implicitly. I felt like a criminal my whole life, and in fact, I got in trouble for this when I was a youngster, and it's really shaped my whole life. So again, that's what about trichomes is really informing people around the U.S., around the world, about what's going on, and bringing in the good light. It's the good, bad, and the ugly about it. Uh, I'm sure that as the research comes about, we're going to find out about all the carcinogens in the plant that, that's not good for you. And hey, we already kind of know that part of it, but we're also going to find out what mechanisms are best for daily consumption and daily well-being, and for certain ailments. And really, again, that comes in the research. And it's hey, the research done by big pharma, we're all scared of what's going to be happening, and how their studies are happening. But this is where the conversation starts on how we get involved with it, and take these anecdotal pieces that we know have helped us over the last little bit, and direct what's happening with it. I mean, you see people researching sleep and that kind of thing off of CBN. We have barely heard anything about CBN, and people are all over it as far as that goes. Really, with the advent of real research behind this, we can start getting real solutions. And for those who just want to smoke cannabis, like myself, and just want to participate how they've been doing, again, we shouldn't feel like we're lesser than. We shouldn't feel like, oh, we owe a debt to society if we get caught with a plant, or something like that. Long and the short is, Skeletor, government is dragging their ass, because right now there's so much surrounding it, that so much commerce, so much traditional business surrounding it, whether it's jails and prisons, big pharma and their medicines, and how much is going to be displaced there. Alcohol losing momentum to the cannabis industry every day. There's people who are set in their ways, and happy with the money they make, that it's going to be a little bit of a tough grind, from here, to get down to brass tacks, because that's who's making them drag their ass. Uh, when it boils down to it, the government reacts to special interests, right? And those special interest groups right now with the biggest money are those lobbying against cannabis, and it's been happening for a while. It's at this point they can't outlobby public opinion, and that's what we have to do on a state level: is talk to the senators, talk to the local government, make sure that the voice is heard, because really those people can be voted out on short terms, and those are the people who are going to be making change for everybody on the local level. Even if this federal legalization or decriminalization happens, states have their rights to opt in and participate how they want to. Make sure that your local government knows how you want them to participate, how you want to feel about this, and what program should be in place. The only thing that's going to happen over the next, let's call it, 2 to 5 years, is that people are going to understand more implicitly what their state intends to do without the BS happening that's happening right now on these midterm elections and that kind of stuff. So, really, yeah, that's pretty much it for the buzz today. We're going to check in again with a couple more things surrounding the federal legalization, but I'll go ahead and grab a state to concentrate on tomorrow, and then in the comments, go ahead and let me know what states you guys are from, and I'll go ahead and do it by popularity. Uh, and let's see, government, Madison. Sorry, wicked smart. That sucks quite a bit. Yeah, immunity corrupts. Your favorite thought being, if cannabis is such a gateway drug, why is big pharma so against legalization? If they had the cannabis, uh, if they had THC out there and it was such a gateway, it'd be addicting so many people to so many other things. Um, yeah, well, really, it's not a gateway drug. We know that it's just one of those things that it was labeled, and so I agree with you. It's almost insane at this point to think about it that way. So let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up for today. We're gonna with this new format. I went a little over. I don't know if we're gonna be sticking with 10 minutes for the morning buzz and then going into a little bit of a different segment right after, or if we're going to stick with this open comment thing and going into about 20 minutes. But I definitely want to have more interaction with you. This is what it's going to be for the next, I don't know, 30, 60, 90. We're working some things out on new formats and some new shows. So within that, I'll be having a couple other people join me here in the office via dial in here, and we'll have them here on the link on the screen. So I really look forward to seeing what everybody who's been sticking with us for the last 2 years thinks about this new format and what we can do with it. And I really look to be more interactive with you with some late breaking news the morning of, rather than putting together something the night before. So I'm seeing everybody list their states right here, and look forward to talking to you tomorrow. I'll go ahead and grab the one that was most uh, put out there, and we'll do a story on it tomorrow. So again, for trichomes.com, this is the Morning Buzz. I'm Jared Duggins, and that's the 91 freeway. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.